Welcome back to Remote Work Bay. I have Alon all the way from Austin, Texas here with me.
What's
Alon,
happening?
how
How
are
are you?
you? I mean,
I'm
the last
great.
last time I saw you was in March, basically
It
when
was.
quarantine started.
You
How
mean when you came for South by Southwest?
South by Southwest had never happened. And
Right.
how are we doing? What, like 8, 9 months later? How has life changed for you since the last time I saw you?
So driven by a incredibly strong fear of poverty, I have had to transform my business pretty substantially. I've had to expand instead of basically being a business that had a few customers with which I worked very heavily. I now have probably, without exaggeration, 7 or 8 times as many customers, each one generating smaller sales.
Mm.
But as an aggregate, I'm actually ahead of last year.
Oh,
Yeah, the only difference is I work a lot harder. So I've got that going for me.
well, do you want to give a little bit about your backstory and what you do so people understand?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm a gem and jewelry wholesaler within the trade. In other words, I don't have any public-facing sales. In fact, I decline any public-facing sales. I only sell to jewelry stores and other dealers and jewelers and gem dealers and people within the trade. I basically have an office here in Austin, Texas, and I have people come in almost daily not almost daily, daily, who'll sell me their estates. And sometimes it's one piece of jewelry, sometimes it's 30 pieces of jewelry, sometimes it's 100 pieces, sometimes it's loose stones, sometimes it's loose diamonds. It's whatever shows up. And so that's probably 90% of my inventory comes from that. And the other 10% is from other dealers who just have something that they've had for 2 years and haven't sold, or it'll come from overseas, from Sri Lanka or Myanmar or something like that. And a dealer will, the other day I got I needed some teal colored sapphires because I have demand for it. And so I contacted one of my colleagues I've known for years in Sri Lanka, and I picked out some via FaceTime, and he shipped them to me, and I got them, and it was great. But that's kind of what I do. And when I get pieces like that, I'll actually make a piece of jewelry. And if I buy a piece of jewelry, I'll either tinker with it or cobble something together, or I'll just refurbish it and sell it as is. Like if you look at my background on my left, that emerald ring.
Oh, yes.
That originally had a diamond in it, but I took the diamond out and I put that emerald in it. It's a super, super high quality Colombian emerald. I thought the ring made it look pretty. So that ring is right now in Franklin, Tennessee, waiting for somebody to take it home. And the octopus is in, I don't know if it's in South Carolina or Bettendorf, Iowa, but it's somewhere. And I mean, all this jewelry is somewhere. Waiting to be taken home by somebody.
That is such a unique career that you have, an industry. Like tell us a little bit about how you got into it.
So originally, we're talking when I was a kid. When I was 10, 12 years old, I wanted to work for myself and be some sort of business person. And, like all 12-year-old dreams, that kind of faded away. And then I went to college and I planned on going to law school. And I had acquaintances of the family in the jewelry business. And the real story is I was going to law school because I was planning on going to law school because it was what I felt like I was supposed to do. Yeah. But when I went to college, everybody went to law school. And I remember being in, it was either psychopharmacology or social psychology, one course I was taking. And I had a crush on this super cute girl. And she said, well, what are you going to do after school? I said, well, I'm going to go to law school. And she sort of rolled her eyes and said, oh, great, another idiot going to law school. And then it was really cute, and my game is awful. So I said, well, I also have acquaintances of the family in the diamond business, so I might do that. And I did. And so all of a sudden I got like taller and better looking and funnier. And I was like, maybe this is something. Maybe I should look into this. And I talked to these guys who were friends of my mom's, and they were the worst human beings in the world. And there was no way I was going to work for these guys. Oh, wow. But I was kind of in love with the diamond business at that point. So I basically BS'd my way into a store in Fort Worth. I drove a junky Honda Accord and woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, left home by 5:30, was in Fort Worth by 7. Wow. Read books on gems and gemology in my car till somebody was there to let me in. So the first person at the office, the last person to leave the office, and I saved up money. And after a year and a half, I started my business. Foolishly, by the way. If I'd had a brain, I would have saved up more money, learned more, made more mistakes. But it was that sophomore thing where you think you know everything. And if you talk to enough people who started their own business, I would guess 80% of them will tell you they started it too soon. And so I used to fly over to Israel and buy diamonds and come back and sell them. And I made a pretty good living doing it. I built up a successful business until really 2007, 2008, where I had this tumultuous year where, I had a robbery and some of my customers went bankrupt and the crash happened. And because at the time I was buying from manufacturers and dealers, my liquidation point would have been below cost. So when you're into your inventory at more than you can sell it, you have a real liquidity problem, which is where I was. And after all of this, I was poor again. And being poor the second time, I would not recommend to anyone, because once you've had like nice food and taken great trips, and all of a sudden you're having like grocery store sushi, which is like sadness and fish. It's just the worst. It was very challenging. And then I had to transform my business, and that's where I pivoted into estate jewelry. So I had to teach myself colored stone and teach myself jewelry and teach myself periods of manufacture. And that's what I do today is I sell gems, I sell jewelry, I sell diamonds, I sell everything. And I supply about 50 jewelry stores around the country.
Wow. So you pivoted from diamonds to gemstones. And I mean, so super fascinating. So basically your money just sits in these pieces that you have around the country.
It's one of two things. I have almost like two separate businesses. One of them is an immediate turn where, let's say I buy a diamond on Thursday for $10,000 and I can sell it after 10 days. So 10 days later, I'll sell it for $12,000 or $11,500 or $13,000. Just kind of depends on what it is and how I buy it and what it comes back from GI, et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of that is for cash flow purposes. But in other words, I can't buy $200,000 worth of merchandise in a month and not sell any of it and do that 2 months in a row.
Right.
So I turn some of what I buy almost immediately for cash flow purposes, and the profits I essentially reinvest. So I'll buy the diamond and flip it and make my quick $2,000 profit. With that $2,000, I'll buy a sapphire ring, and the sapphire ring I'll then consign out. When it finally sells, it's got a much higher profit margin. But I just have to wait for it to move, and I don't know if that's going to be in a month or a year or 10 years. But what I do is I kind of shovel, because my stuff's used anyway. It's already old. By the time I own it, it's used. It's not going to get any more current. So it's not like a 2015 car today is, it's current-ish, but in 5 years, it's going to be a 10-year-old car.
Got it.
Like a 1950s ring is a 1950s ring.
Right.
So if it doesn't sell in Bettendorf, Iowa, maybe it's going to go to Franklin, Tennessee. And if it doesn't sell there, it'll go to Black Hills, North Carolina. If it doesn't sell there, I might go to Miami. If it doesn't, you know what I mean? I can move this thing all over the country every 6 months. So a lot of my inventory just kind of rotates until somebody buys it.
So you must have to kind of look at the ratio of the things that you turn very quickly and then all the things that are sitting. How do you decide, what that ratio is? Is it just based on how much cash flow you need, or?
Yeah, it's called I check my bank balance.
You're like, I need some money this month.
It's just, that's the joke of it, is that in a normal year, I run deficits in March and April. And so I check the bank account and I see it slowly dwindling down. And all of a sudden I think, I haven't sold anything in a while. I better get some money. And at that point, I'll look at things. I'll see how long I've had them, how much exposure they've had, how many eyes have been on them. And if I've got a ruby ring that I was really hoping to consign and get $20,000 for, but I paid hypothetically 10 grand for it. Well, at that point, maybe I'm going to flip it to a dealer for 12 to generate, some extra cash. And I'll do that 5-6 times. And all of a sudden you've got an extra $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, which I know within the jewelry business doesn't sound like a lot of money, but that might carry me through a month. And so that exercise happens almost daily.
Wow.
Where I check my bank balance every morning.
Where everything is and where the cash flow is going. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see where my sales are. Like going into January, because my December sales are so strong.
Mm,
Christmas, obviously.
yeah.
I won't really. I check my bank balance out of habit, but I shouldn't really need money until March. So I'll probably keep everything I buy between now and March. And then in March, if if the bank balance is getting low, then I'll probably start thinking about what I've owned for 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, and whether or not I want to just flip it to a dealer and make it their problem.
Wow, that is so freaking interesting and so different from like so many other
Yeah,
jobs, especially coming from the tech world. I don't deal with anything like that. Tech and marketing.
I know. It's like, it's a funny conversation I have with a lot of my friends because they all can work remotely, and it is almost incomprehensible to them to say, no, I have to physically inspect the piece. I can't do it on FaceTime. Like this is too highly nuanced for you to just put it in front of a phone and you know what it is. Like I've got to look at an emerald and see if it has 2-phase inclusions or 3-phase inclusions, and does it have chromium or vanadium? Does it have a little oil or a lot of oil? Because that you could have 2 emeralds that on a FaceTime call look absolutely identical. And one is Zambian and has heavy oil and is worth $4,000. One is Colombian and has no oil and is worth $80,000.
Wow.
And it's that big of a difference, and that's why I need to get it in my office with a microscope and actually look at it.
Okay, so you still have a very non-traditional job and career and industry. What is the day in the life of Alon look like? I mean, I've sat in your car as you've driven around and done things, worked.
Right. Yeah.
But like on any given day, I know you're like on the phone nonstop. You're like,
Right.
Running around, collecting money, going to jewelry store. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
So last time you were in my car, my business was different because most of my customers were here in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Today, like perfect example, tomorrow morning I have somebody come into my office at 10 a.m. to sell me some sort of estate. So when she comes in, I'll buy the estate. By the time I get to the office, I will have had a FedEx delivery of a pair of earrings that were in Vermont that I need for a store in Austin. So they are arriving here. I also have to ship out a pair of emerald earrings to a customer in New York. And all of these jewelry stores around the country are going to ask me for various specific items. Yeah, I've got a guy coming Thursday. He's got to have a ruby ring for Christmas. What do you have? I send pictures. I send the product. And so a lot of it is just logistics, moving goods around. I'll probably have another 2 or 3 people come in to sell me estates.
Okay.
So I'll meet with them. I'll inspect all their items. And what I do is I do almost a verbal appraisal. If you ever get bored and you look at my Yelp reviews, they're very complimentary of me because I'm quite thorough. I'll go through their item. I'll describe the quality of it. I'll tell them what it would have cost in a jewelry store, what I will wholesale it for, what the liquid value is, and then I'll tell them what I'll pay for it. So there's no, what do you want for it when you come in my office? I don't ask that question. I think it's a rude question to ask someone who's not in the trade. It's a dumb question. If you found a diamond ring that belonged to your grandmother, you have no idea what it's worth. For me to ask you what you want for it puts you at an incredible disadvantage. And I think it is a discredit to somebody in the industry to ask someone who isn't in the industry to set the price.
Yeah.
So I operate very transparently. I would say your grandmother's ring, if you bought it in a jewelry store, would cost $30,000. I could wholesale it on consignment for $20,000. I could flip it for $15,000. If I can flip it for $15,000, I'll write you a check for $12,000.
Got it.
And if you want to sell it to me, you can. Otherwise, I put my offer in writing. You can go to 100 other places. I've had people take me up on my offers 4.5 years later.
Wow. Because they were just shopping.
Yeah.
Around. Yeah.
They shopped it and they wanted to think about it, and that's fine with me. And it's like, and that's okay. I don't assure anyone. I don't want them to walk out of my office thinking, did I make a mistake? Did I act too hastily? I was pressured. You're not going to leave my office having had a bad experience,
right?
Unless you're crazy. Whereas you will have a bad experience because I don't do well with crazy. Yeah, because you're crazy.
So it's
So that's my kind of typical workday. And
so
then at the end of the day, I have to ship everything everywhere.
so I know sometimes you fly and travel to different cities for work. How has that shifted this year? Are you just shipping things now?
Yeah, I am shipping things this year, and it's not the same. There is you know my personality.
Yeah.
If we do business for 2 years, we're friends now.
Yes.
Like we're gonna have dinner, we're gonna go to a bar, we're gonna tell stories and laugh and have a good time, and that's just how it's gonna be. If we can't get along personally, we're probably not gonna do much business.
Totally.
And it's not the same shipping goods to well, like my friend Navid in LA, Anthony in LA, these guys you met.
Yeah.
And I talked to them, but it's not the same as hanging out, sharing a meal, and having that community. Because we travel all over the place. I used to be in LA once every couple of months, New York once every couple of months, and I'd see these guys. And can I ship everything? Yeah, but I want to see my friends. I miss my friends.
Absolutely. I mean, just to kind of like zoom out then, how has the industry been? I mean, I'm assuming, you've been seeing a lot of, changes in the industry based on just people getting married or not getting married or people getting divorced or, how is it this year for your industry?
So aside from the business, COVID seems to be a relationship amplifier where if you are rocky, you are 100% breaking up. If you are strong, you'll probably get stronger.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are getting married because they have been, with each other with nowhere to run. So you very quickly figure out whether or not this is going to go somewhere or not. So engagements are up, but divorces are up too.
Yeah.
What's down is stagnation.
That makes
People sense. Yeah, I mean, so I'm seeing a lot more engagement rings and less of grandma's jewelry chest. Because, this didn't work out, we were together, and then all of a sudden, instead of spending 3 days a week together, we spend 7 days a week together, and we hate each other. And that happens. And the best part of this is everyone who comes into my office is like the good person. In other words, if people are breaking up, my person is always the good one. Spoiler alert, they're not.
That's so interesting. I mean, like just on like the dating front, I've seen so many people in the last 7-8 months, like all of a sudden they just got married. It's pretty interesting. I've also seen people like break up within like a couple months. Like they met someone, broke up with them in 3 months, and I'm like, because it's accelerated so many relationships. That's what happened. Yeah, like if you're stuck with someone 24/7 for how many months has it been now? 8, 9.
It's been like 9.
Yeah, 9 months. I feel like you should know if you like this person.
Well, the thing is, what it's done is it's almost eliminated courtship. Because you can't, if I'm dating somebody and she lives at her place, I live at my place, and I hang out with my friends on Tuesday, my friends on Wednesday, we have a date on Thursday. I'm going to, present myself as whatever this is. Although I'm too lazy to do courting at this stage in my life. Of course, I don't need to have a girlfriend now, but whatever. The point is, that's gone. So now your dates, you're not going to 7 bars in one night and a show and these things. You're in someone's space at their home or they're in your home. You are who you are. And incompatibilities are harder to conceal. And I think people aren't patient enough to conceal them anyway. I think we're all so grumpy that if you go out with somebody and you just kind of aren't feeling it, you're like, you know what? I think there's something new on Netflix.
Let's do that instead. Yes, right. Yeah, it's I've definitely seen a lot of that. I've definitely seen a lot of it, and it's that's why like that was like one of my questions for you, because I'm fascinated to see if you saw more engagement rings this year, just because people,
I did.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are also like seeing like they're basically facing mortality because of what's happening in COVID. So I also see people really speeding up a lot of big life chapters, whether it's marriage, engagements, to having babies in this last year.
Oh, yeah. I have seen more sonogram pictures on social media. I mean, what are you going to do? you're at home, you've watched everything on TV.
Yep.
You're not coming home drunk and passing out. It is what it is. I can't imagine if hospitals are crowded now, what's a maternity ward going to look like in January and February?
Oh yeah, like all of next year. It's going to be super interesting.
It's gonna be crazy.
Gosh, I mean, okay, so let's talk about Austin. How is Austin? I mean, I'm in the epicenter of COVID right now in LA. How is beautiful Austin? One of my favorite cities in the world.
It's weird. I think.
Are things open? What's it like?
So what they did was, so here's the weird part. Our governor and our mayor seem to be in this weird fight that shows its head almost daily. And the mayor, I think, wants to shut everything down. The governor doesn't. And so like the compromise was bars had to be shut down unless they're restaurants. Well, to be a restaurant, if you serve Cheetos, you're a restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So a lot of bars will sell you a bowl of Cheetos so they can be a restaurant. So basically all the bars are restaurants now, but they're bars. And there are people going out and there are people living their lives because Austin is a big place for younger single people. Yep. And they're just not going to stay home. And without engaging in some whole argument about it, they won't. They're not gonna. And I don't know if I was single, I would have. Like, it's very easy for me to have my girlfriend here and I'm happy and everything's wonderful. But I think if I were at home alone, maybe I would do that too.
So
who knows? But
Austin has not shut down restaurants at all. Like, what is so you guys are still open at capacity? Like everything's open, but
no. So it's at 50% capacity. You have to wear a mask until you sit down.
Okay.
While you're seated, you aren't wearing a mask because you're at lunch. I personally haven't been to very many restaurants. I think I've been out to a restaurant maybe 4 times since March.
Wow.
And only outdoor patios. No, that's not true. I went to one restaurant indoors like 2 months ago to have lunch with a buddy of mine. But otherwise, it's not as close as the rest of the country, but it's Texas. Texas has this kind of libertarian streak where Austin is Austin. It's like this sort of, you're going to find vegans who have chickens in their yard, but also have like guns. It's just, Austin's weird. It's just different.
That is very strange. And so you're at 50% capacity. And I mean, I know you haven't really been able to perform as well because you have a side career of being a musician.
Yeah.
Like your main career pays for your side career. So for those that don't know, I met Alon actually when he was performing in LA years ago. And I had no idea that he actually had, I thought he was like a starving artist like everybody else, that plays in a band at the Echoplex. But, it's so weird because like you're normally performing every week.
Yeah, I normally play like 4 shows a month.
So what's going on
now I'm not.
As a musician? Like what's going on with
your band? There are bars having live music. We aren't. So my drummer in cowbell, his wife is a cancer survivor, which puts her in a heavily at-risk group.
Okay.
And so he's not going to play a show, which I completely understand. I think it's completely justified.
Yep.
My bass player in that same band has a newborn. And not knowing long-term effects of this, he's not really eager to bring anything to the baby. Yep. My other band, we haven't played any shows. We got an inquiry on a show in April outdoors at some ranch where no one would be near us. We're not playing any indoor shows. This outdoor show in April, if nobody's near us, nobody's around us, maybe, but I'm not. I feel like there's almost a social responsibility where you don't want to contribute to illness. You don't want to contribute to people not feeling well.
Yeah.
But when you're a performer, when you're an artist, like those are my only hobbies. This is music is something I love dearly and I've done for 20 years. Yeah. And having eliminated that from my life, I'm embarrassingly, do you know what I do for fun now? I bought a PlayStation.
Wait, what are you doing?
I bought a PlayStation. I play Call of Duty with 3 other gem dealers. One in New York, one in LA, one in Alabama. No joke. We are playing Call of Duty
That is
for hours, getting
wow.
cursed at by 13-year-olds. They're
That's
mean.
so funny. That's a
That's
huge
all I
change.
do.
So yeah, it's for those of you that don't know Alon, I mean, he's one of the most extroverted people I know out there. On any given Monday, Tuesday, whatever it is, he's probably out chit-chatting with a bar owner or like hanging out with out-of-town friends or performing a show. I mean, you're like always on the go. Like you have more energy than anyone I know. So for you to be sitting at home
playing video games.
That is a drastic change from your.
Do you know how lame I feel saying, true, put a proximity mine near that door? That is the lamest, like, you feel like the biggest loser in the world.
But you're not. You're not.
But that's the thing. It's like, for a while I was doing concerts in my living room just on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Which was kind of fun, but also, I will tell you a story. When I was a kid, I really wanted Air Jordans. I wanted them desperately.
Okay.
And my mom and stepdad did not want to spend the money on them. So they get me the Payless version, which is like the rip-off copy Jordans, which cost like $20 because I think Air Jordans were like $120 at the time.
Oh, yeah.
That's 2020. 2020 is like counterfeit Jordans. Like
really, that's a good comparison.
Like instead of happy hour, we're going to Zoom happy hour. So you're still in your kitchen having a beer with your friends on their phones. You're on your phone, and it's better than nothing.
True.
Like
True.
Fake Jordans are better than Bigfoot, but it's not what you want.
Especially when you had something more, and you have to just scale back and basically change your life. It's the new norm in 2020. Yeah. And it's gonna go way into 2021. This is not this is like not the end of it. Even with so have you found yourself becoming more introverted because of it?
I don't know. I think I have, but in absence of opportunity, I don't know. Not doing things because there aren't things to do doesn't mean I don't want to. I am telling people, when I have a buddy who says, I'm going to have 20 people over at my house, do you want to come? I'm saying no, because I can't go to a 20-person party because that's irresponsible. In my opinion, if somebody watching this thinks it's responsible, that's fine. I don't want to argue with you. I've argued enough in 2020. I'm good. My argument quota is over. But the point is, I'm not going to go.
Yeah. But
if it was safe and if the vaccine has eliminated COVID, I think that sounds really great. I mean, I think there's a reason the Roaring '20s followed the Spanish flu. I think people were so pent up that they just had to get the hell out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe in 2021, this is finally over. You can finally go to a bar and be around 100 people and hug someone.
Oh, yes.
And then get in an Uber and have the stupid Uber conversation. Where are you from? Oh, how do you like it? What's it? Yeah. Like, I almost miss having an Uber conversation. So I don't know if I'm more extroverted. I don't think anybody, or more introverted rather. I don't know if anybody can honestly answer the question. I think you can speculate, but until you're at that point where somebody says, do you want to do something Friday? And you say, yeah, you don't know. I mean, right now, I think if somebody called me up and wanted to do anything Friday and it was safe, I'd go see Frozen 2. I don't care. And I didn't like Frozen 2. Frozen was amazing. Frozen 2.
I mean, that's a whole another thing, right? Like all the things we haven't done all year, going to a movie theater, I mean, the hugging thing, my God, like it's so weird now. So in LA, the safest thing you can do, like what we've done is like, they people have like drive-through graduations, you drive-through birthdays where you like wave at people from outside. I don't know if you've done one of those. It's just mind-blowing to me. It's just, you kind of like, you're like, with 20 feet apart, you're in your car and you're waving and you like toss them a gift or whatever. It's just weird. If I'm going to that, I'm buying a t-shirt cannon like at basketball games and I'm hitting somebody square in the chest with it. It's going to be amazing. That's the new norm. So actually right before this, I drove to my girlfriend's house, dropped off a gift in front of her door, walked away like 20 feet away and waved at her with a mask on. I'm like, Merry Christmas, happy birthday. Like it's really strange. And it feels so weird to see to physically see your friend for the first time in 9 months and tell them you miss them, but you can't actually get near them. Have you seen friends?
I've seen my mom once.
Okay.
I was able to see my dad a month ago. I took my girlfriend up there to meet him.
Yep.
I see friends very sparse. On my birthday in November, I went to dinner with Min and Stacy at an outdoor patio, and that was like, you know what, it's my birthday. And he almost forced me to, and I love him for it. Because I wasn't going to do anything. We were just going to get takeout. And so Danielle and I went to go see him, and that was great. But I think the potential for something bad happening and me having some culpability has been a real stumbling block to social activities for me. And part of it is because when people come to my office, they're people, and I have no idea whether they have COVID or not. You know, I am social distancing. They're across from my desk. Everybody in the building has a mask on, but that's only so preventative.
Right.
And I can't endanger my clients. I can't endanger my friends. So I have not done much. And then, of course, because people come to my office physically, at least 2 or 3 times a day, I've got the incredibly awkward fist bump, elbow, handshake. What do we do? Like, it's like
one of these now. As a hugger and someone that, like, as a people person, it's very strange. I like people. I guess if you don't like people, this is the perfect year for you, but I actually like people.
You're laughing, but I have a friend who is like, she has social anxiety.
Okay.
And she is happier than she's ever been because no one's allowed to come near her or touch her.
Wow.
And she's like, I don't have these people crowding me and talking to me. This is so great. I'm like, you're the only one who is enjoying 2020. The only one. She's having the time of her life. She's like, I go to a grocery store and if somebody gets close to me, I can yell at them. I was like, you're so weird.
Wow. That is, hey, I'm going to tell you this. Even my very introverted friends, very introverted friends, probably around month 4, started going a little stir crazy, you know?
Of course.
Like, you know, I don't think it's in human nature for us to be isolated from.
No, I mean, historically speaking, we haven't.
Yeah.
Like, people gather. That's how we got societies. It's not like we built societies by, you know, hanging out at one campfire and fighting anyone who showed up. Like, people gather, they have communities, and virtual. I think there had been a philosophical question for years, which is like, will all this virtual stuff take over real life interaction? And I think we've gotten our answer, which is no, like an emphatic no.
I'm so sick of Zoom parties and Zoom calls. Like, I did so many of them in the beginning to keep myself sane. And then it got to a point where I was like, this does not suffice for seeing people. And it's
the stupid counterfeit Jordans.
Exactly. It's so, in the beginning I thought it was like, wow, this is great. Technology is great. Like, I'm so glad I could still keep in touch with people and chat with people, which is I still feel that way, but it does not make me whole. It does not make me whole. It doesn't fulfill me to sit on a call.
It's like such a incredibly lame substitute. It's not like is a Pepsi okay? It's like it's like grocery store cola, but worse.
But way worse.
Know what it is? Yeah. It's like, here's some seltzer water and I put in some sugar and prune juice. Enjoy.
It's
just lame.
Enjoy 2020. Well,
yeah, pretty much.
How's this? At least, you know, I'm so happy. I'm so grateful that your industry is still doing, your business and your industry is still doing so well. It seems that it's still moving along.
Well, sure. There are retailers all over the country that are closing. Because a lot of communities are based around industry, and the car industry is doing well. So your Detroit customers are doing fine, but then your LA stores are not doing well. Mm-hmm. All my LA customers, their local business sucks. Because the people with a strong online presence are doing great, because a lot of people are at home drunk buying dumb shit they don't need.
Yep.
I am among those people. I know. And
I'm one of those people.
You're bored. Yeah. You've had 2 or 3 drinks and you see a dog menorah and you're like, yeah, I need that.
Great.
Which is why I have a dog menorah. It's classic.
Classy.
But the online sales are moving. The highest end stores are doing well. Without getting into politics, my stores in red states are doing better than my stores in blue states because there's more people going into them physically. You have more physical traffic in states where people are taking COVID less seriously.
Right.
Now, with that said, I have a customer in Montgomery, Alabama, who, I mean, when he told me no one was walking in with a mask until they were. No one. But like in the last 2 or 3 weeks, all of a sudden, Alabama is having these crazy outbreaks because shockingly, in a place where no one was wearing a mask, there was an outbreak. I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. But now they're taking it more seriously there. So he's not sure what his business is going to do in January, February.
Wow. So it's been like a roller coaster based on industries and cities and outbreaks.
Yeah, if I was still dependent on my Austin customers for business, which is the last 10 years, they've been 70-80% of my revenue, I would probably be down about 80% for the year.
Wow.
It would have crushed me. I would have either gone out of business or had to liquidate things as quickly as I bought them. And I would have operated at probably, volume-wise, it would have been about the same.
Okay.
But my profit margin would have been probably 75% lower.
Wow. So the moral of the story is diversify.
The moral of this story is and I'm seeing this with other wholesalers, you are faced with two options: evolve or stagnate. And I'm not saying if you have a small business, you need to constantly change it, but you need to look at it without pride, with humility, and say, okay, where could I improve? Where am I strong? How can I accentuate those strengths? How can I minimize those weaknesses? And in my case, my vulnerability was my lack of diversification. So I diversified, and now, not recession proof, but I'm in enough areas where if there are my stores in prosperous areas are going to do fine. And my stores in bad areas won't, but I have enough goods deployed out. I've got 1,200 SKUs and 1,200 pieces of merchandise out. Even if 600 are sitting there doing nothing, the other 600 are enough to sustain me.
Right. And so and you've learned this over the years because how long have you been in business for?
I incorporated in August of 1997. Okay. And I did only diamonds till I kind of went broke in 2007, 2008.
Okay.
And diamonds required so much money that I didn't have enough money to go back into diamonds. Embarrassingly, I just didn't, because diamonds, the profit margin was lower. With diamonds, truthfully, if you don't have $2 million in inventory at this stage, you're not going to earn a whole lot of money. If you're in a traditional supply chain, if you are buying from manufacturers and selling to jewelers, if you don't own $2 million in goods, you're not making a lot of money. You could make more money working in a business. But with estate jewelry, if you have $100,000 worth of estate jewelry, you can get by. And if you have $1 million worth of estate jewelry, you're making a pretty decent living. And if you have $3 million in estate jewelry, you're actually making a pretty good living, as long as you can buy it well, you know your product, you analyze your customers carefully, you minimize risk, and you look at everything carefully.
I have an interesting question I just thought of.
Sure.
Do the valuation of different gems change based on I guess like inventory? Like how does that work when you evaluate a piece of jewelry or a gem and then price it?
So yes. Okay. Most of it is dictated by supply and demand. Sometimes a perfect example is an oval cut diamond. Back when I was buying diamonds in Israel, if you wanted marquee shaped diamonds, which were super popular at the time. Okay. Let's say a parcel of marquee cut diamonds was $2,500 a carat. Okay. If you bought 6 marquees and 4 ovals, it was $2,000 a carat, because they wanted to get rid of ovals because nobody wanted ovals. All of a sudden, Blake Lively gets an oval, and ovals become hot. It's on every magazine. Everybody wants a Blake Lively ring. So ovals overnight went up 30% in price. And they're still up. They're still popular. Pear shapes are popular. Princess cuts are now dead. Nobody wants them. Emerald cuts in larger sizes are popular. Smaller sizes, not so much. rounds are always like kind of the industry standard. And then in colored stones, all of a sudden teal colored sapphires became hot. Yellow sapphires are not that popular. Yellow diamonds are not popular anymore. So yeah, you have to watch market trends regularly. And then certain items that are no longer available, like when a mine dries up, it dries up. Just in case somebody's watching this and you ever are told the Tanzanite mine is drying up, it is not. Tanzanites are readily available all the time. I don't care what the guy on the cruise ship tells you, he's lying.
Wow.
But they're like the cashmere mine, for example, hasn't produced goods in 80 years. So those sapphires, you could have bought them for $20,000 a carat 5 years ago. It's like $80,000 a carat today for the same stone. Burma rubies in really nice red colors are crazy expensive because you can't find them. And so you need to be on top of these trends as soon as they happen. Emeralds from Zambia that were $500 a carat are $1,500 a carat today for the exact same item. And the super, super, super nice stuff can be $10,000 a carat.
So where can a normal human that knows nothing about this find these trends? Like, where do we go for information?
Believe it or not, if you follow enough people in the industry on Instagram, you'll observe the trends. They won't be spelled out for you, but all of a sudden you're going to see a bunch of jewelry in yellow gold, which in the last 2 years has become popular again. Yellow gold was non-existent for 12, 13 years. Nobody got a yellow gold ring. All of a sudden, yellow gold is super hot. So if you look on Instagram, you follow enough jewelry accounts, all of a sudden you start seeing more and more and more yellow gold. I'm manufacturing in yellow gold. I made a ring for a 5-carat teal sapphire in yellow gold, sent it to Bettendorf, Iowa. It sold in 3 days. I made one for a red spinel, which is this beautiful red gemstone that, again, is much more popular now. That sold in 2 weeks. Like, yellow gold is in again. Rose gold was popular, is less popular now.
Yeah.
You just have to watch market trends. And what I would tell a consumer is, don't worry about what's popular, because whatever you buy, if it's popular, you're just going to pay more money for it. Walk in, buy something you like. If you're worried about the value, at some point it's going to be popular. But jewelry isn't, for a consumer, jewelry isn't an investment. Because by the time you purchased it, you bought it at a retail level. And even if you bought it at a wholesale level, it's people all the time come to my office and they say, well, that's less than I paid for it. Yeah, of course it's less than you paid for it. I'm going to sell it to a jeweler at a profit. He's going to sell it to you at a profit. And, this is a guy spending $40,000 a month on rent. Like, what do you think he's going to get it from me for $10,000 and sell it to you for $10,500? Like, that's not the way it works.
Right.
And my advice to any consumer is buy something you like because you like it. Don't financially strain yourself to purchase it. Don't, if you love your girlfriend and you want to buy a ring for her, and you can afford $10,000, spend $10,000. And if $10,000 is going to put you in a precarious financial position, spend $5,000. And if you can spend $50,000, spend $50,000. But spend whatever you're comfortable with. Don't go crazy on it. Don't think you're going to recoup your money. View it as a luxury purchase. Nobody buys a couch for $10,000 and says, I'll bet I can sell this for $10,000 in 5 years after I've sat on it 100 times.
Right. That was what I was trying to get at is gemstones and jewelry, are they good investment pieces?
Terrible.
Okay.
They're good for me.
Okay, they're good, but for a normal person, it's just not. Okay.
They're horrible, and I would caution anyone. So there's an important distinction here. When you sell someone an investment, you are engaging in what's called a fiduciary relationship, which is someone is coming to you. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, read the Drew Brees jewelry case.
Jewelry. Okay.
Yeah. So he bought jewelry from this jeweler who told him, now I've only read his affidavit, but the jeweler told him he could buy this jewelry, make tons of money on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, it turns out the jeweler was marking it up like crazy.
Okay.
And so Drew Brees spent like $60 million on jewelry that he could have liquidated for like $8 million.
Wow.
I would, if anyone tells you they're selling you jewelry or diamonds as an investment, my advice to any consumer is to run. Because your level of using that as a liquid asset is completely tied into the person from whom you bought it.
Got it.
You as a consumer cannot get the same amount of money as a dealer can. And it sounds weird, but you have to understand, if I sell a diamond to a jeweler and a week later he notices it has a little chip on it, he can call me up and say, hey man, this thing has a chip. You need to give me back my money. I'll apologize profusely, take the diamond back, give him back his money, recut it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
A consumer, if they buy a diamond from a consumer, they're stuck with it. Any problem is their problem. And having no recourse means they're going to pay you less money. No, jewelry is a horrible investment for a non-industry person.
That's great. That answered my question. I mean, I just, I wonder if it's like, a lot of luxury goods, there's this whole movement of people that practice movement of wealth where they'll buy, an LV bag, Chanel bag, or a Rolex watch, and basically move their money into these items and resell it for more, because a Birkin bag, for example, is so rare, right? That to find it, buy it for $20,000, and someone will buy it for like over $100,000 because they want that.
Sure.
So that's my
if you got the thing is, you have to have the right Birkin bag, right? Yeah. So let's say there's 20 Birkin bags. What if you get the wrong one? What if you get the yellow one nobody wants? Like,
you get the right one.
Yeah, get the right one. But it's like there is that in jewelry. Like I've had people come in with a ruby that they bought at a store 20 years ago, and I paid them 5 times what they paid for it. But those are sort of these weird outlying cases. It's like there are people who make money with an MLM, but it is a terrible idea.
Right.
So there are people who make money with jewelry, but it is a horrible idea as a practice. If you make money, that is wonderful, but buying jewelry as an investment, if you don't truly know what you're doing, and I mean have a high level of proficiency, is almost a certain way to lose money, no matter what country you're in. So because remember, just because you're on vacation in Thailand and they cut rubies there and mine rubies there, you think the guy in the store selling you a ruby, one stone, is going to give you the same price as when I'm buying 300 at a time from him, and what I'm doing and you don't. Like I see people who go to Sri Lanka and Thailand and buy these gemstones for 10 times what they could pay in a store here in the States, because they were on vacation and they thought they were getting some incredible bargain. They don't realize you're in a country where price isn't transparent. It's not set. Price is whatever you can get for it. And they know you're going back to Texas. What, are you going to go back to Sri Lanka and complain? Write a bad Yelp review? Yeah,
you're right. You're absolutely right. And this is like actually really good information, especially if people that are investing in pieces for their loved ones.
Sure.
I've heard too many times that people do that. Or like, your girlfriends that show off these beautiful engagement rings, and they're like, oh, I could buy this is a down payment for a house, and I'm like, well, is it?
Yeah.
I'm like, is it?
No, sure.
Yeah. Well, that's really, really good to know. Well, how do people find you if they want to connect with you?
So I have a website. I have a Yelp page. I have a Google page.
Okay.
I do some SEO, and I get referrals from retailers, and I'll have people come from 3 hours away to come see me, because I've got a high level of proficiency with a lot of colored stones. So I mean that does happen.
So what are your handles so people that are listening can follow you?
bandbdiamonds spelled out on Instagram, and I think Facebook too. But in Instagram, it says in big letters, no sales to the public. So please don't DM me asking to buy my stuff. I'm happy to refer you to whatever city you're in. I can find an affiliate retailer who will sell it to you. But I do not do any direct public sales whatsoever. But I do post some pretty cool stuff. And if you just want to see jewelry, I would love for somebody to poke in and give me their opinion and tell me if they like it, don't like it, whatever it is. That's totally fine. I just can't sell anything to anyone.
Got it. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And I really hope that I can see you in person at some point.
Yeah, I'd love to see you.
Some point in 2021. Let's pray that this vaccine works and we really get these numbers down.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alon.
No worries, Andre. It's always good to see you.
Good to see you.